Hey there, Lyndon Holdeman, Holdeman Realty Group, and today we're going to talk about, this video is part three of a three series, to talk about credit and what on your credit report can easily be changed or more easily, and what maybe cannot, and you maybe should take different tactics. So I'm Lyndon Holdeman. For 20 plus years, I've been helping buyers, sellers, and investors buy and sell real estate profitably here in the U.S. and primarily in the Las Vegas, Nevada area. And so, but today I want to start off with to give you the reason I'm credible to talk about credit more than most is that for years before I started my real estate career, I owned a very successful credit and debt negotiation business that I owned for years with my brother, and we were very successful with that, according to the way most people gauge success, obviously. And we had a great career with that. And I really understand at a very high level the things that impact credit or affect credit, and the things that most consumers don't understand typically. What can be done and what can't be done is probably just as important. And so let's talk about it. So credit. So first of all, if you have things on your credit that are there because, let's say that you had a credit card you didn't pay several years ago, and you've never paid it, it's going to be on your credit showing as a possibly charge-off, but definitely a collection, probably a charge-off from the bank that you had the card with, and then a collection agency is going to list it also as a collection on your credit. So a lot of times people will go, well, I didn't owe that money, or it was here's the reason why I didn't pay it, and there's all these things that people come up with. They think justifies why that should not be reported on their credit. And so I want to deal with that right up front. Because one of the points of this video is the credit bureau doesn't care. And if it hasn't been resolved to where all parties agree, it's not going to change. It's still going to be in the repository. It's still going to be there. And so if you hire some credit clearing company to clear your credit up because of that debt that you didn't pay several years ago, it's most likely not going to happen unless there's some legal issue you deal with, and we'll talk more about that maybe on another time. But for the most part, if you just go the standard route that for decades companies have used, where they just write letters to the bureaus and dispute items and say, it's not mine, prove it, there's some validity to that. But if you owe the money, somebody is still trying to collect on that money. They're not just going to throw up their hands and go, okay, we'll take it off the credit, no worries. No, that's not how it works. However, to take the flip side, if you have a debt that you paid, even if it was charged off or whatever, especially if it was charged off, and you had a debt that you owed 2 or 3 years ago or 4 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever, you've now paid that debt, it's zeroed out, but it still shows on your credit as a paid collection. Well, then the bureau doesn't really care. They'd still like to make money from it. But the person that you owed the money to definitely doesn't care. They've completely forgot about it in most cases. There are some exceptions. And so I share that to give you an example. And so something that's old and has no activity and is just a record in the repository of one of the credit bureaus that you did a certain thing, it definitely can come off your credit report if nobody cares about it being there. But the credit bureaus don't just delete something until they're forced to, because guess what? They make money from reporting things, negative things about you and I to whoever pays them for that information. And so that's number one. The second part of this is it ties into everything else. There's also, the longer you get away from a snafu or a late payment or whatever, those type of things can be cleared up. And you should, as a financially responsible consumer, make sure you get your credit to the best shape possible. And there's no reason for you to have a 600 credit score because last year you had a 30 or 60 day late on a bill that you thought was being paid and you completely forgot about. But guess what? It's going to be reported. It does affect you. You're going to have to pay more for loans. You're going to have to pay more for insurance. Your credit's a very, very important thing. And so let's talk more specifically about what you can do, because this is more of a real estate related show. There's definitely things that you can do to improve your credit. First and foremost, as we talked about, video 2 of 3, paying down your debt definitely improves your credit. But there are ways that should be done correctly, and I'm happy to discuss that with anybody who wants to give me a call. Just click on the calendar link below, and we'll talk more in detail. But let's talk about real estate. So clearing up your credit there's several facets to it. And nowadays, with the advent of technology and all the things that are being done, it's actually easier if you're working with a reputable, ethical, solid company to get your credit in better shape. And there's obviously some trade secrets and things that I'm not going to start going into and shouldn't, but just understand that there are at least one company I know of, which obviously I'm going to give you the link to, but there are ways to get yourself in the best shape possible. And I'll start to close with this. Everybody has heard, well, so your stuff stays on your credit for 7 years. If you have a bankruptcy or something like that, it stays on your record for 10 years. Well, yeah, the law says that the credit bureaus cannot report stuff longer than that period, but it doesn't say things have to be on for that period. I'm going to be very clear about that. And so within that 7-year period, there's no law that says that because you had a 30-day late last month that it has to be reported to the Bureau. Now, they have an agreement probably with the Credit Bureau that they work with most closely, that they will report it, and it happens, but it doesn't have to happen. And so there are so many different things like that, and I don't have time to get into that on this video. I already went way beyond what I normally do on these quick videos that are just here for you to pick up 1 or 2 things. But I think credit's a big deal. And so what we're going to do as we wrap this up, click on the link below if you need some help with your credit. And I have a program that I promote that charges no upfront fees for enhancing and improving your credit. And this program uses a lot of, because of the technology that's used and the way the program is ran, their fees are very low when they do charge fees. But they will get involved, go to work on your credit, clear up some things that can affect your score greatly. And then once you get started and you see that they're legitimate and doing great work, then they will ask to have a payment made, but it's just a one-time low fee. And so I'm not going to get into more details on that. If you'd like to talk more about real estate, or you'd like to talk more about credit, or you just want to chat and say, Lyndon, you're the coolest guy on the planet, just click on the calendar link below, schedule a quick call with me. And then secondly, also click on the link below for the credit enhancement program, and go to that link. It's Access, AXXCESS is the company, Access Solutions. And so click on that, get started today. If you have credit, I promise you, credit isn't the financial death sentence that a lot of people think it is. And so there's ways to take care of that. It's a passion of mine in addition to real estate. Love to help you out with that or anything related to credit and to real estate and so on. Just reach out, let's talk. Happy to talk anytime. Appreciate you watching this all the way to the end.